His Excellency Ouyang Yujing, Ambassador of the People's Republic of China to Malaysia, Professor Zhang Zhongyi, President of Xiamen University, Professor Wang Ruifang, President of Xiamen University, Malaysia, dear graduates, distinguished guests, and ladies and gentlemen. Very good morning to all of you. Salam Malaysia Madani. I'm here to congratulate all of you. It's a beginning. I understand that this is the first convocation without mask after many years. And this is also a full-fledged convocation that you are lucky to be here, but I also notice and acknowledge that the years of effort you have put into getting you here. Congratulations. I want to take this opportunity to take you to a tour of history in the hope that will inspire you and inspire all of us to think about the future. Let me take you to a bit of history where rubber and Malaysia and China was intertwined. The 1911 revolution in China that resulted in a republic had something to do with rubber in Malaysia. You may think that this is a bit far-fetched. But what happened was, in 1908, Henry Ford developed and launched the Model T. Model T was the first car that was produced for the masses at a relatively cheap price. And because of Model T, the world thought that there will be huge demand for rubber. And because of that, it prompted a speculative craze or a speculative gamble on the Shanghai Stock Exchange. In the early 20th century, the Shanghai Stock Exchange was the world's largest stock exchange. And there was a frantic speculation between 1908 and July 1910. Some of the rubber stock, and as you know, at that time, only Malaysia and some parts of South America produced rubber. So the name of the stock are Senawang Rubber Company, Tebong Rubber Company, Perak Rubber Company. So these names were listed in the Shanghai Stock Exchange in 1908, 1909, and 1910. But by July 1910, the Shanghai stock market, particularly the rubber stock, collapsed and resulted in the bankruptcy of banks. Taking history to the other part was in 1905, the Qing dynasty devolved financial power to the provinces. And the provinces started to collect money from ordinary people to build and construct railway. So what happened was, many of those money collected from ordinary people were siphoned off to speculate on the Shanghai Stock Exchange, particularly for rubber stock. When the market collapsed, those money disappeared. And it resulted in a lot of protests in 1911. By almost the end of 1911, there was a major protest in Sichuan. And because of the protests in Sichuan, the most elite soldiers were moved from Hubei to Sichuan and resulted in a vacuum in Wuchang, where Wuchang Qiyi, or the revolution, happened. Now, I'm saying all this because I would like to see more of us thinking of global history, or thinking about history in a global perspective, rather than from a China perspective, or a Malaysian perspective, or from a Western perspective. Sebastian Conrad say that until very recently, historians have looked at the past with the tools of the 19th century. But globalization has fundamentally altered our ways of knowing, and it is no longer possible to study nations in isolation and to understand the world history as emanating from the West. Now, I want to take you to another interesting subject, which has a lot of relevance to the Xiamen University, Mr. Tan Kah-Kie. Most current scholarships in China focus on Tan Kah-Kie's role as the founder of Ximen and Xiamen University, as well as his contribution to China. But I want to take you to a different tour. Mr. Tan Kah-Kie was called the Henry Ford of Malaya. In Dr. William Tai Yuan's speech at the Third Tan Lak Si Memorial Forum, with the title, The Historical Experience of the Rise and Fall of Tan Kah-Kie's Enterprise. The author said, the Tan Kah-Kie rubber manufactory was a milestone in the history of Malayan industrial development. In 1929, Malaya exported about 3 million pairs of shoes to China, mostly from the Tan Kah-Kie rubber manufactory. Tan Kah-Kie's motor vehicle tires were launched onto the market in 1927. And the Tan Kah-Kie enterprise included a vertical integration, combining upstream rubber planting, midstream rubber processing, and downstream manufacturing into a vertically integrated industrial complex. And that happened 100 years ago. Those things happened 100 years ago. As a large manufacturer oriented to the international market, the Tan Kah-Kie rubber manufacturing uplifted Malaysian industrialization to a new level. I said it also because it has some relevance to what I'm doing. I'm the Deputy Investment, Trade and Industry Minister of Malaysia. It helps me to think about industrialization in Malaysia over the last 100 years. Mr. Tan Kah-Kie, according to William Tai Yuan, paid great attention to technology, being fully aware that there would be no industrial development without technology. He said, Mr. Tan Kah-Kie said, the chemistry industry and the experienced technicians are the lifeblood of manufacturing industries. And industry will grow with them or perish without them. It is a wisdom that we should all take note that we need manufacturing, we need industrialization, but we also need technology and experienced technician. And this is a message that I think we learn from the great man, Mr. Tan Kah-Kie. In 1925, Mr. Tan Kah-Kie's business was most profitable, and that coincided with the roaring 20s in the world. Now, for those who are familiar with global history, you will know that the world was growing and with a lot of speculation and with a lot of euphoria up until 1929. So that was a period where Mr. Tan Kah-Kie did very well. However, by 1929, the bubble collapsed, and that was the start of the Great Depression. Coupled with the dumping of Japanese shoes to Southeast Asia, the devaluation of Japanese yen in 1931, the loss of China market as China imposed heavy trade barrier and tariff on shoes imported from Southeast Asia, and also the loss of the British Empire market, where advanced countries like Britain, Canada, and Australia blocked the imports of shoes from Mr. Tan Kah-Kie's factory. All this resulted in Mr. Tan Kah Kie's enterprise ending in 1933. According to William Tai Yuan, the loss of the China market was one of the major causes of the eventual downfall of Tan Kah Kie's enterprises. And Tan Kah Kie's enterprises peaked in the number of staff he has and also in the production capacity in 1931 and 1932 when the world was already in the Great Depression. Now, I say all this because you are all very young. You are all very young. You are going into the world, and I want you to have a global perspective. I want you to see that whatever we do here, or we do in China, or we do in Europe, or in United States, or everywhere, we are interconnected. The business, the trade, the relationship are all interconnected. And it is important for us to empathize. It's important for us to understand how the world works and how trade, investment, industrialization works, and how we can create a world that has less barrier, but also a world that is peaceful. Remember, trade, investment, flow of money, flow of capital, and geopolitical tension, wars are interconnected. And we want to see the years to come not clouded by geopolitical tension, but be a world that is more hopeful. And we in Malaysia must never think that we are too small. If you look back to the legacy of Mr. Tan Kah Kie, it is a Malayan who has impacted greatly on China, and the Xiamen University is a legacy. It is also to see that this man were able to change and uplift industrialization in Malaysia to a level that we have not seen after many years. After his collapse, there were many years where industrialization did not reach that level until the 1960s. Now, I want to end with a short tribute to another man who has influenced the commercial market, the industry, both in Malaysia and in China. That is the largest donor to this university, the Xiamen University of Malaysia, and he is Mr. Robert Kok. Mr. Robert Kok is turning Mr. Robert Kok is one of the most important leader in the last 60 years, 50 years, as far as the commerce in Malaysia, as far as the economy in Malaysia is concerned. But he also had huge influence on China, especially when China started to open up in the late 1970s. When Mr. Deng Xiaoping opened up China, 改革开放 in 1978, very soon, Mr. Robert Kok plays a very important role in bringing investment into China and also helping China to understand Southeast Asia and to understand the trade of sugar and the trade of many other commodities. I want to pay tribute to him, and because he's turning 100 years old on 6th of October. Again, I want all of you, especially the young ones, the graduates, to remember that the world is the limit, the sky is the limit. Go out to seek knowledge and go out to be brave and to create a better world, a better humankind for everyone. Thank you very much.